That's the most important part. The coffee machine for the flight test crew. If this doesn't work, they will never take the aircraft.
The next day, the 6 test pilots turn up for a photo shoot. But although they pose happily for the cameras, it's clear where their real focus lies. For within minutes of the last shot being taken, they're in the plane checking out the new machine. For Flight Test Director Fernando Alonso, it's important to feel comfortable at his post.
This is the place where I will be sitting for the first flight, and it'll be almost my home for the next months ahead. Yeah. This screen, for example, it's what we call the flight display. So it shows us the aircraft pitch attitude and bank angle. It shows us the speed, the angle of attack, the altitude, the heading. So just by having a glance at that screen, we have a very good overall picture of the airplane.
The aircraft is equipped with sophisticated flight instrumentation, thousands of sensors that record every aspect of the plane's performance. Gathering this precious data is vital to the test flight program.
If on the day of the first flight, the flight instrumentation does not work, we will not fly.
Each airline will decide how many passenger seats it wants in its own A380s. But 550 is a likely average. So for the upcoming test, each of these water tanks represents the weight of one person. But again, there's a delay, albeit a minor one. The cabin lights aren't working.
Cabin illumination is switched off. So we have no possibility to switch the cabin illumination.
I need the lights.
The cabin lights
we need to have them on.
to be on. We have been having handover meetings for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said that the cabin lighting was not working. Nobody ever mentioned the limitations. Nothing was said about lighting. So now we put on the breakers. If something burns, it will burn.
With Fernando's words ringing in their ears, the engineers get to work, and in no time the lights are on. Immediately the mood changes, and the plane can be officially handed over. I have the key to the plane, he says. For Gérard Devois, it's like taking delivery of a new car. In their time, these guys have test flown everything from airliners to jet fighters. But this is their biggest challenge. On previous projects, they've performed takeoffs on runways flooded with tons of water. They've deliberately scraped the fuselage along the ground during takeoffs. And they've flown to Siberia to test planes at 50 degrees below zero. Plus, they've thrown passenger aircraft around the sky in the most extreme manoeuvres. It's a challenging but satisfying job.
It's something which is rather demanding. It asks you to be at your best level permanently, because you cannot cheat. You are really flying in real conditions, and it's something which is stimulating, I would say.
During testing, Jacques and his team will be pulling manoeuvres like this in the A380. But all that depends on getting the plane into the air. The first step is to get used to the aircraft, to make sure they're familiar with all the systems and that everything is working.
Non, mais les cendriers, il n'y a plus de raison d'en conserver. La tabagie est en voie de disparition.
By April the 8th, the team is ready to test the engines.
To start the engines, there's one ignition, which is that one for the APU. That'll start engine number 1. That'll start engine number 2. That will start engine number 3. And that'll start engine number 4.
The smoke is caused by a protective layer of oil burning off as the engines are run one by one. Testing and monitoring the engines takes 2 long days. But now the plane is alive and can move under its own power. The next 10 days are spent on further detailed checks on the ground as the A380 becomes a familiar sight at Toulouse International Airport. Gradually, the speed is increased, and most importantly, the brakes are successfully tested. Confidence in the aircraft is growing every day.
There's still some little things to be fixed, but we're getting closer.